Hello again everybody and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today you join us at Pyre Devco's awesome Belfast Aldergrove airport scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're going to be exploring the new Black Square Steam Gauge Overhaul for the King Air in MSFS. The aircraft comes with an extensive manual complete with systems guide, operating limitations, electrical schematics, checklists and tutorials, all available to download on justflight.com. And over 175 random or scheduled failures in an in-panel interface, including engine damage as well. If you're new to the channel, please do hit like and subscribe down below, and of course share your thoughts in the comments below. On release, all the links will be in the description, and we're going to go for a flight here, very wet and windy Aldergrove across to Donegal today. And we're going to discuss things like the electrical logic on board the aircraft, which simulates the battery load properly, the battery charge and the currents. The aircraft is compatible with the TDS GTN XI 750 and the PMS 50 GTN 750 as well, which is really quite cool. It has a fully simulated environmental control system, so the temperature indicators on the panels inside the cockpit, including the bleed air, will basically allow you to control fans, vents, cooling and heating inside the aircraft effectively. It has improved turbine dynamics, and with that you've got to observe the ITT spike on the startup and keep an eye on the gas gen RPM, and also improper engine management will slowly damage the engines through to failure. For that to actually happen, you need engine stress damage to be enabled inside the options of the sim. So we've repositioned the aircraft to a different part of the airfield to cut down on taxi time, but it's also to show you some of the other features as well, including those windscreen wipers that we spoke about a little earlier on. Just going back to battery charge and electrical current and things like that, there are schematics included in the manual, and within that it will show you effectively what all of the different circuit breakers will do, because all of them are pullable and simulated the correct electrical loads on board the aircraft, which is a really smart feature that they've added into this here. Into the flight deck then, predominantly we've got analog displays as to be expected with the products across the flight deck environment, and on the right hand side you've got the main circuit breaker panel, and as we mentioned, they're all pullable and simulate the relevant electrical loads. And you also have another circuit breaker panel just on the left below the fuel panel. So I'm going to spend a few minutes working through the included checklist, and you'll join me again in just a few moments as we begin to start the engines. Battery master on. We can look in the overhead panel and check the voltage. It's discharging the battery as well at the moment, so we can do an initiator test like so. And we can check the fuel quantities. We've got sufficient for our journey and our diversion as well. Beacon light can go on, and we're going to look left and right to make sure the prop area is clear around the aircraft. A little shout at the window, clear prop. Gen ties, we're going to leave as they are at the moment, and we're going to go right starter. Start. Watching the ITT, watching the gas gen. Ignition lever to low idle above 12%, and we're looking at the ITT just here, rising almost to the maximum for start, not quite, and back down again. Happy days. All T's and P's, we're looking at these on the right hand side, they're in the green. And right starter off. Going to go right gen, resets, and then back on again. And we've seen the gen annunciator for the right engine extinguished as well. So then, bringing power to the aircraft, we're going to turn the Avionics master power on and move the weather radar to the on position or something like that. And this is where we can go through a number of its unique features inside some of these systems. So the Bendix 1150XL down at the bottom is your weather radar. You can have test mode, standby and off. Standby and off, of course, useful for engine starts and before you turn the avionics master switch on. But if you go to nav, what it gives you is the left and right engine conditions. You can repair both of those by clicking the relevant buttons like so. And if you want to go to failures, you go to log, and you can select between random and scheduled failures. You can view the active failures on board the aircraft, and you can reset them individually or reset them all via the nav page that we just had a little look at. And we can go through to the detailed setting. What it does, it gives us the opportunity to click through all of the different failures on board this aircraft. And as we mentioned at the beginning, there are hundreds and hundreds of them. There is plenty to get stuck into with this. Really nice bit of system depth from the aeroplane as well. And before we look at the other displays, if you hide the yoke for the first officer here, you've got two flick switches basically, COM1, COM2, and what it allows you to do is switch between a number of different configurable options for your aeroplane so you can get exactly the type of simulation that you want. It's really quite a smart aeroplane, and it will state save, so it will remember exactly what you've selected the next time you fly the aeroplane too. Really swish. So here at Belfast there are a couple of different options available to us for departures. Most of them all focus upon Belfast VOR, which is on a frequency of 117.2. We can transfer that into the active box, and we just saw the OBS needles switch across there very quickly. We're going to fly outbound 280 initially from the VOR once we get airborne here at Belfast. The current METAR shows light rain, visibility 10 kilometers or more, pressure's 1010, so we're going to change the barometric pressure here as well. And if you had other things like ADFs or NDBs and things like that to tune as well, you could enter those in the relevant fields down the very bottom here as well. One thing I will say is use the checklists to help you. Make sure you go through your run-up checks and everything to make sure that your aircraft is configured properly for the flight. And as it's raining, just before we depart, we're going to have a little look at these rain effects on the windshield. Up in the overhead panel, you've got your windshield wipers, you've got settings for park, slow and fast, and as you can see at the moment we've got a little bit of rain splashing away on the windows. If we move it to the slow function, we can see some of the animations of the actual windscreen being wiped by the aeroplane. More prominent in the centre here, near to the base of the arm. And on the right hand side it actually makes it look like it's clearing the rain around that section of the wipers, which is really smart. So we can work to take off and make our way now to Donegal. Quite the crosswind. I don't know if you saw the windsock there, but it's straight across the runway. We go gear up. And down here we can go autopilot engage, and we can set climb. And why not as well, we can set heading mode 2. Away we go. So what we're doing initially, we're flying heading mode and we're in climb mode for the autopilot. About 160 knots for climb out at the moment. We've just got rid of the flaps. If we We're going to flick between GPS and nav as we're just crossing over the other side of the VOR for the intercept at the moment, because we're going to do a couple of things before we actually fly away outbound on that. What we can do is flick between nav and GPS down the bottom here, and you'll see it flicks around various different settings, and the right hand button will allow you to arm approach mode too, which is quite cool. If we now select nav, what the aeroplane is going to do is work to get us back onto this outbound radial away from the VOR. So now we're flying outbound on the radial. It's flying that quite nicely. If we want to now go return to our flight plan line, what we can do down the bottom here is just press GPS. We're in nav mode already, and the aeroplane's now going to work to get us back onto this flight plan line to head towards Donegal. We're levelling off at 4,000 because that's the altitude that we've set. So throughout this we would be operating various different systems on board, nav 1, nav 2, the ADF, might be changing the transponder code as well perhaps, and you might want to think about setting your rad alt as well for your minimums. Black Square have created quite a nice product actually for Microsoft Flight Simulator. They've already created a similar package for other aircraft in the sim. This is of course the latest iteration of their Black Square Analog Steam Gauge Overhaul product line. They've made numerous tweaks. Little things like the aerodynamics have been slightly improved. It's compatible with third-party mods. It's compatible with all default liveries as well via an easy conversion process, and they've done a little tutorial to show you how to do that should you wish to move various liveries onto this package. But you do need to have the default aircraft installed to make this work. Having said that, you can also fly the original default aircraft. This doesn't override or affect its installation. What this does is it gives you an additional aircraft to use and enjoy, which is quite cool. Just below the captain's seat as well, there's an emergency gear extension hand pump. So if you do get a gear failure, you will have to operate that. And also oxygen systems will deplete based on pilot and co-pilot weight and altitude as well. I'm not a King Air pilot at all by any means, and I do find it quite interesting to use something that I haven't flown before, so I'm picking things up as I go over the course of a couple of flights now. I've only done 2 landings in the King Air whilst I've been getting to grips with what this product has to offer for the purpose of this video, and all round so far I've been really quite impressed with what the Black Square team have been able to create and offer for the package. Things like hot starts are possible, so if you run the starter for too long it will burn out the starter motor, and there are various engine limitations that you need to try and observe as well as you learn to fly the aeroplane. In relation to the cabin temperature environment, just to the right hand side of the main circuit breaker panel you've got a little display showing you the temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius, and the little blue button there cycles between the two. What you'll need to do is have a little look to see what is happening with the cabin temperature, and you might need to adjust the cabin temperature slightly using the dials down here. What you will notice is either of these 2 little lights just here on the flight deck, the very left hand side next to the clock and the turn and slip indicator, illuminating based on whether or not the cabin temperature is low or if it's high. So it'll be blue at the top for low temperature, and I think it's red or orangey looking if the cabin temperature behind is getting a bit hot and toasty. And then on the left hand side you've got the free air temperature, so it's telling you the conditions outside as well. So as it stands at the moment, we're now flying final approach into Donegal. There's a bit of a crosswind, as we mentioned before. It's kind of gusting up to 25-30 knots on the METAR in parts, and there's rain in the vicinity as well, as we actually can see just beyond the airfield there too. The crosswind doesn't seem too bad at the moment. We've got a little bit of a crab going on, but it certainly seems manageable at the moment, and the aeroplane seems to be handling it really well actually so far as well. I haven't landed a King Air in any form of crosswind condition, so I'm not quite certain what to expect in this situation, but I will give it my best shot for you guys. And as a reminder, all the links are in the description. Upon release, you do want to get your hands on this aeroplane. Okay, looking ahead. Gently, gently, gently. It does have a reverse prop, which is that. So allowed us to stop very quickly actually. I'm fighting to try and keep it on the centre line there on that touchdown with the wind. Did quite a bit of rudder, and here comes the rain. As we head down to the very bottom end of the runway here and vacate onto the apron alpha. So turning the systems off. That's the avionics master going off. We can pop the AC inverters to the off position. Cabin master on the right hand side can be turned to the off position, and cabin accessories as desired along with the lights. We'll leave them on for now. Below low, temperatures onto off instead of auto. We might as well turn those off as well, and the smoking signs. Electric heaters off. Lead air valve down 1 notch to each, environment off. Fuel control levers to cut off. Then we're going to bring these props levers into feather. And then the electrical switches, we just hit the gang bar like so and shut everything off. And there we have it. Black square Steam Gauge Overhaul for the King Air in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I hope you've found the video interesting and useful, helping you decide if you want to get hold of it for your sim experience. As we mentioned before, share your thoughts in the comments section below. And I hope to see you join me for a live stream in the very near future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.